They're going to rule this on instant replay, an interception by Marcus Peters. Rex, as we watch it again, can you believe they rule this a catch?
No, like what? There's no way in hell that's a catch. And John Harbaugh, I mean, he throws the flag out. Is he on the rules committee? There's no way in hell that's an interception.
They wind up ruling it an interception, and it leads to this. It completely changes the entire game. Edwards winds up taking it in. Ravens go up by a score of 14-10 right there and never look back. Late in the third, same score. Ravens on a fourth down. It's a nice play.
I love the play call. The defensive end crashes down. You give it to him, gain the edge for Dobbins.
And then fourth quarter, Lamar, why not just take it
yourself? Look at Mark Andrews, though. Like, look at him finishing that block 6-7 yards into the end zone. No one's going to catch Lamar in the perimeter. Two great drives by this offense.
And so in the end, it is the Ravens that wind up winning it 24-10. And they, look, I'm not going to sit here and say they would have otherwise lost the game but for that call. But it did really change the momentum just super quickly of that. And it does leave us all sitting here wondering, well, what exactly does a catch look like if that's a catch? You thought it was a bad challenge in the first place.
When he threw the challenge, I'm on a group text, and I was like, that was a stupid challenge by Harbaugh, because there's no way you're going to. I've been around football for 30 years. You've probably been around it for 90. I have no idea.
Thank you, Dano. Thank you.
I have no idea what a catch is.
But let's not get ourselves sidetracked with that, because Ryan Clark, you're with me 3 days a week. It feels like every single week is a referendum on Lamar Jackson and what he's doing this season and what it means. So what did he do yesterday and what did it mean?
You know what? They won the game how I think they're going to have to win games. They're going to have to win games by turning the football over defensively and running the football. In the first half, they really couldn't get the run going. They weren't out being more physical than the Indianapolis Colts up front, and they struggled. They couldn't move the ball. They obviously couldn't create plays in the passing game, but then you saw in the second half, they were able to run the ball, so the play-action game got going a little bit. We even saw Lamar Jackson with the quarterback keep for the touchdown. It's actually starting to not be about how Lamar Jackson in the run game goes, but how well the running backs play, because off of that, that's where you get the play action. Off of that, that's where you get Lamar Jackson out of the pocket. But this game started with defense. It started with a punch out by Marcus Peters. It started with what I think is an interception by Marcus Peters, and that's what got this game going. That's how the Baltimore Ravens won, and I think we're going to have to stop expecting them to win outside the numbers and become this potent passing offense and let Lamar Jackson do what he does best, let this offensive line do what they do best, even missing some starters, and figure out how to win games like that, because the Lamar Jackson, Dan Marino experiment should be over. We have to focus on what he does well.
That's a really interesting point. You compare him to one very famous quarterback in Dan Marino. Rex, you were comparing him to another this morning in terms of exactly what the Ravens shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, look, Greg Roman had Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. Did an amazing job with him. He did. Colin Kaepernick was one of the most explosive players in the National Football League, one of the most successful. All right, dynamic. What happened? Let's make him a pocket quarterback. What happened to Colin Kaepernick? He was below average after that. Please don't do the same thing to Lamar Jackson. Earlier this season, I was seeing that, and I'm like, stop it. Ryan nails it. Let's just be who we are. It's okay to win games. And you win by letting Lamar do his thing and playing defense.
And again, his record is ridiculous. He's now 25-5. He actually caught Marino on that front yesterday in terms of winning at the start of a career. But we don't worry about their ability to win games in November. We worry about their ability to win games in January playing that way.
Yeah, and that's the expectation of the standard level. I would actually say this. Those two drives that they had at the back end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter are in many ways season-saving drives. They go hard ball, play action, completion. Hard ball, play action, completion. That's who this offense was last year. That's who this offense needs to be. And then allows Lamar to see the field so much better. Those easy, quick, shallow crosses off play action, that's what they did so much of last year. This kind of quarterback trap that he can read the defensive end for their run game, that's what they did last year. And then getting them on the perimeter with those keepers. So last year, this was an offense that was either explosive or ball dominant. They just went on these really long drives. They went on 2 drives yesterday that were 10-plus plays or more, both of them in the second half. If they lose this game, it's hot in Baltimore. But the fact that they got back to who they are, which is what RC and coach are saying, in that second half, this should be easy. This should be easy, Baltimore. This is our game plan. We got one of the best players in football in Lamar Jackson. Let's not make this more complicated than it has to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Ravens get a win yesterday. Not so pretty in the first half. They wind up closing the door. Let's run the hurry up through a few of the other storylines. RC, Dalvin Cook is running wild. Are the Vikings back in the playoff mix?
You know what? I don't necessarily know if they're back in the playoff mix right now, but this is the team I expected to see coming into the season. And when you look at the back half of the schedule, there are some tough games. The Saints, the Buccaneers, obviously you play some of the division rivals, but if Dalvin Cook plays this way and now Kirk Cousins can play off of him with Jay Jettas outside and Adam Thielen, this team can be tough to beat. And they can go 5-3 in the second half and be a 500 team fighting for that 7th playoff spot.
Dalvin Cook might be an MVP, but unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes is still playing in this league. This kid is absolutely ridiculous. Hey, guys, you know what? Here's the numbers. Let me tell you how good this kid's been. Right now he's got 27 touchdown passes versus 1 interception. Like, it's crazy. Let's vote for second place, okay? This is the league MVP.
Dan, how about Josh Allen?
Well, the haters have to shut up this morning because Josh Allen reinserted himself back into the MVP race. He stared down Russell Wilson and a Super Bowl contending football team in the Seahawks and said, "This is my house, and I'm going to be the best player on the field." And he was yesterday. He was absolutely spectacular, both with his feet and throwing the football. And he now, after some early entry this season, is back in the MVP race as well.
You know who's not? Anyone who plays on the Bears offense. The opposite end of the spectrum. The Bears lost their 3rd straight, managing just 3 points in their first 55 minutes against the Titans. 3 weeks ago, Chicago was in line for the top seed in the NFC. If the playoffs started today, they wouldn't even be in. The reason we just showed you all those Tennessee highlights there is because when the game was a game, that was the only team doing anything offensively yesterday. A lot of the numbers that you will see, if you look at the numbers that Nick Foles put up in this game, were completely hollow. They came when this game was completely decided. And I know, Rex, you have been pounding the table about that since they made this.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Greeny. This Blake Bortles all over again. He can't win a game, but, I mean, Nick Foles, we said this. Look, he is a phenomenal backup quarterback. But I got news for you. He's not a starting quarterback. And how many times have we got to say it right here? And look, they can't run the football. They can't throw it. He can't move. And you know what, Matt Nagy, you guys benched a guy that was 3-0 that you took over. Look, Matt Nagy was the coach of the year.
Right.
Coach of the year because of the way Mitchell Trubisky played. And I can understand. That's why you want to get rid of him. For this guy, a backup, don't you understand? Apparently you don't. There's a difference between a starting quarterback in the league and a backup in the league, and you're making a huge mistake by keeping this cat in there.
Yeah, and that is one very interesting part of the Matt Nagy story. And RC, I know you have another part of the story about the coaching.
Yeah, you know, Greeny, yesterday when I was watching the game, I kept scrolling on my phone and I kept going to Shefty because I wanted to see had the Bears facility been shut down for the week, because that happens in 2020. And I figured they had to have Zoom walkthroughs the entire week in order to play this way. Listen, this team is totally inept. And you think about Matt Nagy and what he had in Mitchell Trubisky. He didn't want to change the offense for him. He didn't want to make sure he could succeed. So he says, you know what, I'm going to get my guy. I'm going to get Nick Foles. And now I can do the things that I need to do and want to do with him. And we aren't seeing him have success either. We aren't seeing Matt Nagy put in the type of plays, put in the things schematically that allow Nick Foles to excel. So at some point, we have to look at this team and say, you know what, offensively, it's not just the player's fault. It's also on the head coach. It's also on the quarterback guru, on the guy that studied under Andy Reid. And here's what I know about Andy Reid. No matter who they had at quarterback, that dude played well. Kevin Kolb, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, all of those people. And that's what the Chicago Bears thought that they were getting. But they've gotten the complete opposite. No matter what skill set you have, no matter how good you are, no matter how great our defense plays, I won't get a quarterback that can help us win a championship. And that's what we're seeing right now with this offense, because when you have Robinson and Mooney and you have Jimmy Graham, some of these players that can make plays, you expect a better offense when the game actually matters. And we have not seen that from the Chicago Bears, and especially while they've had Nick Foles.
Yeah, and listen, it's very important for everyone to understand. There's a big difference between being a coach and being a teacher. A coach that cannot teach is a failure. A coach that doesn't know how to build relationships with their players is a failure. A coach that doesn't know how to communicate with their players is a failure. A coach that cannot adapt or change their scheme to the type of talent that they have is a failure. And right now, Matt Nagy in Chicago is a failure. He can't do any of that stuff in Chicago. Stop. This is the offense that you wanted to run. This is the offense that you wanted to run from Kansas City. It's not working. You don't know how to adjust to the talent that you have. I said it all the time on Chicago radio last year. Fit your offense to Mitchell Trubisky. Well, you didn't want to. So you went and got Nick Foles. And now you don't have an offense that will work for Nick Foles. This is like a marriage. When you try to change your spouse to exactly what you want, it's going to end up bad. And you're trying to change all your players to exactly what you want, because it's the only thing that you know in Chicago. And now this is headed for a divorce. Matt Nagy as a coach in the NFL is a failure because he can't teach.
It is actually a full organizational failure because he took over. They hired him knowing who the quarterback was. They drafted him. They did all the things they did, traded up to take him ahead of who everybody knows who they took him ahead of. And they hired this coach knowing who the quarterback was. So he have to have told someone, yes, I have an offense that can make this kid work, and they just won't do it for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, does he have mobility? If you just look on paper, check. Mitchell Trubisky has ability. Can he throw the football? Check. Yes, he can. Like, to me, he did all those things.
He did it their first year together.
Yeah, he makes coach of the year. And here's the thing. They're ruining what I think is the most talented defense in the National Football League.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're playing the best, but I believe they're the most talented, and they're ruining it with this offense.
Yeah, there were so many numbers that jump out yesterday. Tennessee has the worst